Spider-Man, hero, icon, and notorious commitment phobe. We all know Peter Parker swings through the city fighting crime, but what about his chaotic love life? From MJ to Gwen, Black Cat to Silk. Has having too many girlfriends actually made him a worse Spider-Man, or is it just part of the infamous Parker luck? Today, we're not just listing girlfriends, we're diving into the psychology of Peter Parker, exploring every single one of these relationships. It all started with the early days, the innocent encounters that quickly taught Peter a hard lesson. Love and heroing don't mix easily. Take Betty Brant, for example. She was his first real office crush at the Daily Bugle. It was sweet, it was innocent, and it was doomed from the start. Peter was constantly disappearing, standing her up, lying about where he'd been. He couldn't exactly tell her he was off fighting Dr. Octopus, could he? The relationship was filled with misunderstandings, driven by his secret. Betty's own life was complicated. Her brother got tangled with mobsters, pulling Spider-Man into the fray and putting even more strain on her relationship with Peter. It set a pattern right away. Peter's responsibility as Spider-Man will always crash headfirst into his personal happiness. Then there was Liz Allen, the classic popular girl next door. Peter had a huge crush on her in high school, but he was always the nerdy, awkward outsider. By the time Liz started to see the amazing guy Peter really was, he was already caught in the web of his double life. He kept his distance, not just because of his own insecurities, but because he knew getting close to him was dangerous. He saw it with Betty, and he was terrified of it happening again. This self-imposed distance only caused more pain, more confusion. It's the classic Parker luck. As soon as he gets a shot at normal happiness, his duty as Spider-Man rips it away. These early relationships weren't just teenage drama, they were the training ground for a lifetime of romantic disasters. They established a brutal, recurring theme. Peter's commitment to Spider-Man is a wall that his relationships consistently smash into. But let's get to the main event, the holy trinity of Spider-Man's love life. Gwen, MJ, and Felicia. These are the three women who have defined Peter Parker more than any others. First up, Gwen Stacy. She wasn't just a girlfriend. She was the first love, the one. Gwen was brilliant, beautiful, and she loved Peter for who he was, the nerdy scientist behind the mask. Their romance was the stuff of comic book legend. It was pure. It was hopeful. It felt like it could last forever. And that's what made its end so utterly devastating. The death of Gwen Stacy, at the hands of the Green Goblin, is arguably the single most important moment in Peter's life after Uncle Ben's death. It wasn't just that he lost the woman he loved. He was there. He tried to save her, and he may have inadvertently been the cause of her death when his web snapped her neck. That moment haunted him for years. It cemented the idea in his mind that his enemies would always target the people he loves. Gwen's death set a dark precedent for all his future relationships, a constant, echoing reminder of the price of being Spider-Man. And then there's Mary Jane Watson. Face it, Tiger, you just hit the jackpot. From the moment she uttered that iconic line, MJ was a force of nature. Initially, she was the fun-loving party girl, a stark contrast to the more serious Gwen. But over time, their relationship evolved into one of the most iconic in all of comics. They had this incredible will they, won't they dynamic for years. MJ figured out his secret identity on her own, and instead of running away, she eventually embraced it. She became his rock, his confidant, the one person who truly understood both sides of his life. Their marriage was a huge deal, a sign that maybe, just maybe, Peter could have it all. But of course, this is a Spider-Man story. The controversial One More Day storyline ripped it all away. To save Aunt May, Peter and MJ made a deal with Mephisto to erase their marriage from existence. It was a heart-wrenching reset that threw them back into that endless cycle of love and duty locked in conflict. Their story is a roller coaster of joy and pain, proof that even the greatest love is fragile in a superhero's world. Rounding out the iconic trio is Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat. Felicia is different. She wasn't interested in the nerdy Peter Parker. She was in love with the thrill, the excitement of Spider-Man. As a fellow costumed adventurer, she understood the nightlife, the danger, the adrenaline. Their relationship was pure fire and passion, a whirlwind romance across the rooftops of New York. But that was also the problem. Felicia loved the mask, not the man. She couldn't understand why he would ever want a normal life. This highlighted the fundamental tension in Peter's world better than anyone else. With Felicia, he could embrace the spider, but he had to sacrifice the man. Their on-again, off-again dynamic embodied the ultimate temptation, the allure of a life without responsibilities, a life Peter could never truly have. You'd think after all that he'd take a break, right? Nope. The pattern just keeps on repeating. Take Carly Cooper, a forensic scientist with the NYPD. On paper, she was perfect, smart, brave, working in a world that overlapped with his own. They had a real, stable relationship for a while. But how did it end? The same old story. The complexities of his dual identity, the secrets and lies, eventually became too much and sabotaged everything. Carly couldn't handle the deception, and when she found out he was Spider-Man, the trust was broken beyond repair. It just goes to show, even with someone who seems perfectly compatible, the Spider-Man secret is a poison pill for romance. And then we have Silk, Cindy Moon. This one was complicated. Bitten by the same radioactive spider as Peter, she was locked away in a bunker for years. When she was finally freed, she and Peter had this intense, uncontrollable pheromonal attraction, an instant electric connection. It was a relationship born from their shared powers, a bond no one else could possibly understand. But that connection brought its own ethical dilemmas, its own questions. Was it real love, or just a side effect of the spider bite? It was messy. It was chaotic. And once again, it proved that even when Peter finds someone who can literally share his world, the complications are inevitable. The pattern persists. No matter who the woman is, Peter's vow, with great power comes great responsibility, remains the ultimate obstacle to any kind of lasting happiness. So, after all this chaos, all this heartbreak, has it all been worth it? This is the core of the debate. Has his tangled love life been a burden or a blessing? You could easily argue it's a burden. Think about it. The constant danger, the lies, the guilt. Gwen's death alone is enough to make a case that loving Spider-Man is a death sentence. His relationships are a constant weak point for his enemies to exploit, putting innocent people right in the crossfire. Emotionally, the loss, the turmoil, the endless cycle of pain, it's taken a massive toll on him. But on the other hand, what would Spider-Man be without these relationships? They humanize him. They're what separate him from a cold, detached vigilante. His love for Gwen, for MJ, for the others, it's what gives him his strength, what gives him something to fight for beyond an abstract sense of duty. These relationships, painful as they often are, provide the richest storytelling opportunities in his entire history. They give him depth. They make him relatable. We feel his pain when he loses Gwen. We cheer when he finally gets together with MJ. His eternal struggle to balance love and duty. That's the beating heart of the character. It's what makes him who he is. It's what makes him Spider-Man. So, what's the final verdict? Has Spider-Man had too many girlfriends, or just the right amount for a life as incredibly complicated as his? Honestly, when you look at all the heartache, you could easily call it a pattern of constant failure. But maybe the answer isn't about the number at all. Maybe the real story is the fact that he keeps trying. He keeps opening his heart and fighting for connection, even knowing the immense risk and the pain that's likely to follow. That hope, that refusal to just give up and be isolated, that right there might be the most heroic thing about him. It proves he's not just fighting to save the world, he's fighting to stay human. But that's just my take. What do you guys think? Is all this romantic chaos essential to who Spider-Man truly is? Let me know your definitive thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this dive into Spider-Man's tangled web of love, be sure to like and subscribe for more. Until next time, keep your heart open and your spider senses tingling.